Good evening again, Steve here. I was at one of my favorite events this evening, a Toastmasters event. I really get a rise out of that. Learning a skill or practicing a skill which hampers so many people. Public speaking has hampered me for much of my life. Not so much anymore though. Anyway, part of our our meeting involves opening introductions. We introduce ourselves and we have a theme for the evening and a word of the day. Our word of the day was gardening and our theme was horticulture or vice versa. I forget which one, but anyways, horticulture and gardening. So the idea is to introduce ourselves and to say a few words, a few sentences on those words of that theme. And for some reason, well, one of the reasons is because of the way I think in terms of liberty, and the other reason was just for imagery. I thought of this guy from the 1800s, early 1800s, who is a philosopher, and if you look back at pictures of philosophers from that time, their hair and or beard looks kind of like a very well overgrown garden. So that was the image in my mind, and it came to me. The guy is named Lysander Spooner. I don't know if you've heard of him. I first heard about this guy through a guy on the internet called Marc Stevens, who runs something called the No State Project. He is a liberty-minded guy who really is working hard to put the word out to help people see the tyranny that is veiled in something, is veiled as virtuous, this thing we call government, right? And I mean, there's always been people like this, and if you go back far enough, especially in early America was an experiment in minimizing this problem, right? But we see how well that's worked. It hasn't worked. But anyways, Lysander Spooner, he wrote a book. Well, okay, first of all, I just did that Wikipedia search. You can look it up too. Early 1800s. He was an American individualist, anarchist, political philosopher, deist, Unitarian, abolitionist, supporter of the labor movement, legal theorist, and entrepreneur of the 19th century. He is also known for having competed with the U.S. Post Office with his American letter mail company, which was forced out of business by the United States federal government. He's a guy who, and you can, if you want to do a little bit of research, you can just type in Lysander Spooner, just the way it sounds. Lysander, Spooner, just like it sounds. Spooner. Type in Lysander Spooner, and what'll come up is his main book. His book was called No Treason. His most notable work is called No Treason, the Unconstitutionality of Slavery. He does an excellent job of explaining how there's no legitimacy whatsoever to so-called law of government, including constitutions. And if there's no legitimacy of the Constitution, there's no legitimacy of everything else, because the Constitution is the top dog, right? And this guy was a lawyer, a very astute lawyer, self-educated, in the field type of lawyer back in the day when you could actually do that. He understood law as it's practiced, as it has been practiced for many, many years. He understood contract law. And he boils down government to basically being a bunch of thugs who go around making up laws as excuses to be thugs and to take what they want, really, right? But that doesn't make it legitimate, right? It's like the mafia just making the effort to make it look like they're the good guys, and to educate the children that they're the good guys, and so on. It doesn't make them legitimate. So I just thought I'd throw that out there tonight. That was my few minutes of presentation on gardening and horticulture. You can see how how my mind works, maybe. But all I saw in my mind was this big bushy beard, and sure enough, I looked it up on Wikipedia here, and he's got a beard about a foot deep, you know. It's all bushy, looks like a overgrown hedge of carragana. But he sure has a good message. It's a very hidden message. You won't hear that. You won't hear anything about him in public school, of course. You won't hear anything about him in the mainstream media. All the neocons and so on Fox News and so on won't talk about him, very likely. And if you do get anybody who does talk about him, Ron Paul has mentioned him, even though Lysander Spooner would probably call Ron Paul a tyrant. But of course, Ron Paul, even though he's a sitting Republican, has apparently not been allowed to go to certain Republican national conventions, which tells you how Republican he is, how far out he is, right? But he mentions guys like Lysander Spooner, and of course he's not invited to the mainstream, because a guy like Lysander Spooner, if more people didn't know about him, the game would be up, right? But apparently people aren't ready for it yet. But if you are, and I think you are if you're watching, have a look. Download his book. It's public domain as far as I know, and have a read. It's a quick little read, but I like that 1800s writing. Emerson's another one. It's full of gems, especially these philosophical type people, these Unitarian type people, these deists. Some of them saw very clearly through all the bullshit and just went right for the chase. And Lysander is one of those. Hope you enjoy. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye for now.